Hey mate, thanks very much for tuning in. My name is Bastian. I'm the owner of Australian Sporting Agencies, the distributor for the Eureka gun, and I'm going to provide you with an update on the project. Now, last week and the week before, we completed the function test. Now, in a function test, you basically fire a whole bunch of rounds and see what happens, and hopefully, actually, when you pull the trigger, it goes bang. Now, the test was in the end successful. We identified some issues. All of the issues have been resolved, but I do want to be open about what we experienced because I just think it's really interesting and a lot of people actually want to know what's happening in the background. Okay, so we found two main issues. Number one was that the charging handle is connected to the bolt carrier group. And in that design of the prototype, which you can see here, the charging handle sits in the back of the bolt. So that therefore, when you charge it, it requires this cutout along the receiver that you can see. So we've actually already planned to put the charging handle further on the bolt carrier group, which then makes that cutout obsolete so that there's less opportunity for dust and dirt to go in. However, with the prototype, what we've experienced, which you can see here in slow-mo, is that the round gets ejected, but then hits a sharp corner and then comes back into the receiver and obviously causes a function error. Now that's, like I said, resolved with the new upper design anyway. But I find it fascinating, especially we wondered how that happens, and then we sort of got on the slow mo and identified exactly how it happened, which is kind of cool. The other one is around the piston being bent. Now we've always planned on hardening the piston. We just didn't for the function test because one, we wanted to see what the impact on how much force is actually being put on the piston. And secondly, we didn't want to further delay the function test as well. So we used untreated pistons out of steel. So what you can see here is that in the moment um, the firearm fires off, the gas goes through the gas block, pushes the piston back. But the spring that we used in order to drive the piston back into position after it actually sends the bolt carrier group back into battery, right, where you have to then push the lever in order to close the bolt, it gets stuck there because it doesn't have enough force to push it forward or halfway. So what then happens is once you push the lever, the bolt carrier group goes forward and hits that piston and puts it back into place. But that impact from the bolt carrier group actually bends the piston. Also contributing to it is that the barrel adapter that we use, the tolerances are so little where the piston goes through the barrel adapter into the receiver that the slightest imperfection on the piston will actually cause the whole thing to jam. And so we resolved that by increasing the strength of the spring in order to drive the piston back so that the bolt carrier group does not slam into the piston but just goes back into battery as it should. And also the piston is going to be hardened to obviously, it was, like I said, always the plan, but that will also ensure longevity over many, 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 many rounds. Now we planned on doing the accuracy test this week. However, I had this 40-ton truck play Terminator with me and I lost. And so I had a bit of a rough week and I couldn't make it to Brisbane. Yeah, because my car is not going anywhere. So we're gonna go and do it the week of the 12th, which is coming week. We're planning on doing that Wednesday and Thursday coming week, which then means that hopefully I have results with a video throughout that weekend, roughly or shortly after for you. That accuracy test will show which ammunition is best to use with which barrel in the Eureka, and obviously the overall accuracy of the firearm. So far, we've been quite happy with the accuracy. We do understand that we will still have to work out the exact torque or the best torque for the barrel adapter that basically holds the barrel extension in place within the receiver, and also the tolerances of the receiver. We don't notice that the barrels that we receive from our supplier, they come pre-assembled with the barrel extension, that they use more torque than we would like, which causes the barrel extensions to be slightly warped, because they're just putting too much tooling pressure on the barrel extension. So we're working on reducing those tolerances in the production model, which will further increase the accuracy of the firearm beyond what we currently can test for. Now, I do want to address a few things. I'm very active on social media, and I try to make an effort to reply to every single comment I can find. But the internet is huge, and there's a lot of people talking, and I can't be everywhere, and I can't explain everything. You got to remember, everything has a reason, either because we haven't thought about it, or because there's actually a reason why we do things the way we do. So I try to explain those reasons for people to understand why, right? And if you don't know the reason, you look at a problem or something, a solution, and you go, "That's dumb. I don't really, I don't really like that." But it's just because you don't know where it's coming from. So a few things to address. Number one, is the firearm legal across Australia? Well, this is an interesting one. The only way we know this 100% is trying to register a firearm in each individual state and then see what the authorities have to say about it. That said, we've already been contacted by several authorities, and we're also starting to contact them now as well. But until we have finalized the design exactly, they won't give us a judgment on it because they need photos of the actual firearm in order to make up their minds around, is it legal or is it not legal in that particular state. We believe strongly that we have addressed pretty much, well, not pretty much, but everything we know that could be an issue. It's also a huge reason why our firearm does not look like an AR-15, because you cannot have an AR-15 in half of the states, and those are the most populated states. So it would be not a smart idea. We are designing our firearm to be aligned with all states and their legislation. But again, we will find out soon, but we can't tell at this point 100%. It's in the end up to the authorities, and if they come out with something new that we're not aware of, then we have to go back a little bit on the drawing board and work out a solution. So don't be very positive. We just don't know at this point. That's the honest answer. But we do work with the authorities together to make it happen. The other one is the $100 pre-order. Now, apparently, it's so that we can fund our project. Let me tell you that even if I had 1,000 pre-orders today, which is like $100,000 in cash, it does not even close or remotely sort of fund a project of this scale, right? Like, but it's peanuts in terms of the cash that needs to be available to pull this off. The $100 are solely for us to determine demand. And by that, what I mean is that if I say, hey, everybody can pre-order and it's free, I might have 4,000 pre-orders. I'm going to set up production for 4,000 units. I'm going to buy CNCs, hire all the people. And then what happens is all these people drop off. And suddenly only 1,000 people actually purchase a firearm by the time it actually comes to market. That would not make the whole project not viable, because we would have to put the cost for production capacity of 4,000 units onto 1,000 units that we actually sell, which then again make them so expensive that we wouldn't even sell 1,000 units, right? So it has to do with demand. The amount $100 is just because it is enough for you to think about it, but it's not that high that you can't have it for 6 months, and it sets you, it doesn't hurt, hopefully doesn't hurt your financials if you spare $100 for 6 months or 3 months until you receive your firearm. So that's why the value, and that's the reason for it. It's literally just for us to understand what the production volume needs to be in order to get the firearms the most efficient, well priced, and fastest possible to you, the customer. Next one is the appearance. I heard the Cybertruck of guns in one of the comments, and to be fair, I'm a big fan of the Cybertruck, but that's not here nor there, right? So what it is the appearance of the firearm has solely to do with machining cost, or therefore production cost. What needs to be understood is that our bottleneck is the CNC machine. We can do 50 upper and lowers a week, 200 a month, let's say. If we were to spend more time cutting more cutouts, make it look more like the standard rifles you guys know, in that sort of category. If we were to do that, it would take more time. So instead of making 50 units, we can only make 40 units, just to keep the math simple, right? It's 20% drop. Our costs are exactly the same, and they're actually per unit higher. So what's going to happen is that each unit goes up by 20%. So instead of, let's say, we bring the gun to market at $2,000, now it's a $2,400 gun, or maybe even a little bit more. Now, don't quote me on it's going to cost $400 more, and then people are going to go, oh yeah, that's worth it, that's worth it. It could be $1,000, right? I haven't done the math, but what I can tell you is that demand works exponentially. Meaning, if I have a gun that's $4,000 and I might sell 500, or let's say 1,000 units I sell at $4,000. If I now drop that price by half to $2,000, I don't sell 2,000 units. I sell 4,000, maybe 8,000 units, because you guys know 1%, the 1% in the world has 80% of the money, and vice versa. 80% of people have very little money, right? So what that means is that if you drop the price, exponentially more people are able to afford the firearm. So if you can afford, a $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 gun, good on you. Really good on you. But the vast majority of people cannot. Once you put a scope on it, once you put the accessories on there, it's not it like it's a serious investment for a lot of people, and we need to understand that. We make this gun so that that as many people as possible can enjoy it. And let me tell you, I've shot it a few times. It is absolutely epic. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to get the production model and then pimp it to the max, right? Because that's what I do. But again, that is not what the vast majority of people do. And so our goal is to get this gun into as many hands as possible, and therefore we need to be at the best value for money that we can possibly do. And if that means we have a very simple design, then so be it. Don't get me wrong, there's very likely to be options on the design and doing some more custom work. I mean, look at this here at SHOT Show, right? I had the pleasure of holding this Kalashnikov, and it is gold plated with laser engravings. It's absolutely pimp, where even Saddam Hussein would have been, jealous in his heyday. So we are now looking at buying such a laser engraver in order to do some kick-ass customization. But that's going to come at a price, and again, it's going to be for that 2%, 3% of the population that can actually afford it, right? But for those guys, that you need to understand that's not the vast majority of people, and therefore the price and the value needs to be there. Right. Hopefully, that makes it clear. In terms of the um, color, right, and hence the Cybertruck sort of comment as well. The video that you guys saw before was of the prototype. It was non-treated. It was bare aluminium coming from a CNC. We wanted to show the prototype straight away, and hence it wasn't Cerakoted. It was never meant to be shiny silver, okay? That wasn't the plan, obviously. And some people picked up on that and went, yeah, surely they're going to Cerakote it black or whatever color. Now, the gun that you see here, which is our prototype, we Cerakoted in gun gray. Two reasons. Number one, we wanted to see what the feedback was, and also if we actually like it. And to be honest, a lot of people actually like that color, which is awesome. So we're going to put it into our customization, so it's going to be available. They'll also be available, obviously, black, and we're looking at sort of an army green color as well. Now, you notice that on the firearm that you see here on our prototype, you may notice actually that the handguard is 3D printed. So a couple things on that before the keyboard warriors go all on the 3D print thing. A couple things. Number one, the design is not 100% the design that you see in the fore end that's on that gun. So the actual fore end is 61 millimeters longer, and the reason for that is, or why this one is a little bit shorter, is just literally the 3D printer couldn't print that 61 mil. That's it, as simple as that. The reason why it is a 3D print and not a finalized version has to do with production of foreends. A forend is produced via a method called metal extrusion. So what they do is they push liquid metal through a mold and they extrude it, right? And then eventually they cut it off. So they got a long piece that looks exactly the same in the outside shape of and the inside shape of the forend. And then what happens is they put it in a CNC machine and the CNC goes all over it and cuts it. And then a laser comes and does its thing. You can't, the most expensive part of that is the mold. And you can't make the mold until you have the final design. You can't make the final design until you have all the attachments and their final designs, or where that forend attaches to, and that piece and its final design. The last piece that we were waiting for was the gas block. Now the gas block design you can't finalize until you've done a function test, because if you design a gas block and it doesn't function, then you sort of start over again, right? So we finalized the gas block design now, which you can see here. And the forend fits perfectly over it and actually gets connected via 3 screws on the bottom. Now we will receive the forends in the samples probably in the next few weeks. But the lead time is about 2 months until we receive the full lot of forends. The forend that we'll receive will have one more M-lock row on the front, hence the 61 mil. That's basically the cutoff. So you get an idea of what that looks like. But again, it's 3D printed. It's not the final one, obviously. It'll also be Cerakoted in the same color as the upper and lower. So there's going to be a smooth, there's not going to be 2 different color sets on the gun. It's just in one color. In terms of timeline, where are we at and when can you have it? All right, so the longest lead time is the barrels. The barrels will be available to us in about 3 months' time after we place the order. We need to conclude the accuracy testing coming week in order to be confident to place the barrel order, which then pushes us basically from a production point of view into May, maybe June. What we're going to do is we're going to manufacture all the other parts prior so that we have a stockpile of them, so that when the barrels arrive, we can just drop the barrels in. As I mentioned before, our capacity at the moment is 2,000 units per year, 200 a month roughly. Now, we were planning originally on going into full production the beginning of April, end of March, beginning of April. Now we're hoping that we can catch up by doing this the way we think about it now, and within 2 months we should be back on track. All right, which brings me to pre-orders, right? So at the moment we have about 2 months, 3 months worth of pre-orders. So I really, really encourage people to jump on and place their pre-order to secure a spot in the waiting list. We'll also allow you, or not allow you, enable you on the website to see when it is likely that your gun actually is going to be manufactured based on your pre-order number, which that functionality is being built at the moment, and I'll let you guys know for the guys that have pre-ordered when that's the case. We'll also publish on if you pre-order one now, sort of what month can you expect the firearm to come through if everything goes smooth, right? And that assumes import permits and all of that beautiful bureaucracy actually runs smoothly as well. But either way, even if it doesn't, we will communicate it and we will let you know. It is way better uh, for customers to know where they at than keeping them in the dark and not letting them know what's going on, even if it's negative, right? So I talked about the issues that we have with the function test and how we resolve them, because I think it's very, very important to be open and honest about it and just saying, hey, yeah, everything is great. No, everything is not great. It's manufacturing. Things go wrong all the time. It's about how you address them and how you communicate those issues. So again, we'll be very open about it, and hence this conversation about, we're going to be 2 months late, but we're trying to catch up by changing the way we're doing it or planning on doing it, right? So we're doing our very best, and obviously informing you on the way through. So I hope that's valuable, and 6 months time or in a year's time, I will count my chickens and see if that was a good idea or that was a bad idea. Anyway, now what I see though in the market is that a lot of people are hesitant and they don't want to place a pre-order, and that goes for dealers as much as end consumers like yourselves. What I predict will happen is that when the guns hit the market and they gonna be great, a lot of people at the very same time will place pre-orders. What then happens is we on the back foot, as in let's say 2,000 people place a back order. We know we're going to be booked out for 12 months. Sure, we can up production, which means we have to buy another CNC machine, which we can do, and we can jump to 4,000 units production. We can't scale in between. The reason for that is that the bottleneck is the CNC for the upper and lowers. It can do 2,000 units a year. We can't do half a CNC, because what that means, well, you could outsource it to somebody who has one, but literally, one, IP issues. Secondly, not very people in Australia, one, have the machinery and the licenses to actually make uppers and lowers or actions in general, right? So there's a handful of people in Australia that can do it. So it's not an option, unfortunately, which means that we would have to double our capacity. If I'm confident that we can sell 4,000 units and we have pre-orders of the right magnitude in order to rectify it, we'll upscale production to hit that demand, because I don't want to have a year's worth of backlog. We're going to be bringing out different calibers, which will increase the demand every single time, right? Because there'll be like some people want 9mm, some people want 308, some people want 223, but they all add together. So the earlier we know what the real demand is, and not I'm going to hold it back a little bit because too many people got burned with other manufacturers with generation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I get it. The only thing is we don't know what the real capacity needs to be. So it would help us greatly is that if you are on the edge, place a pre-order. That will really help us to buy the right equipment or enough or increase the equipment that we have in order to then hit the demand. Because what I really don't want is everybody jumping in at the same time and going, hey, I want one suddenly, and we're going, yeah, well, great, lead time for a CNC to bring it up, put it into production. You're looking at 4 months, so nothing is going to happen for the first 4 to 5 months potentially, and so then production times are going to be blown out and people have to wait a year, which I really don't want. So anyway, that's just an ask from my side of things. But also, I'm personally in the boat where I ordered a car and I took my deposit back to then 3 months later put the deposit back in. And that 3 months meant I went from, I don't know, spot like in the thousands to 700,000 something. And now I got to wait 4 years until I get the car. Let me tell you, I regret it greatly. That's an extreme example, right? But you get my point. So please do me a favor. If you're on the brink, put it in. There is literally zero risk on your end. It's fully refundable, $100. And if the gun comes out and it's not what you thought it might be, or what you expected, just send us an email. You get your $100 back. It's not a problem at all. So yeah, that's my ask. And I appreciate all the guys that already pre-ordered, because which brings me to the next point, which is the last point, which is feedback. Now, I'm on social media a lot, and I try to get as much feedback as I can, and it has been invaluable so far from everyone, and I'm really thankful about the constructive comments, or even just negative comments in general. Doesn't mean I like to hear a lot of general comments, right? It still hurts everybody's feeling, but it's sometimes what we need to hear. And because you're the customer, you tell us what you want, and then we adjust our way, if possible, in that way, so that we can actually offer the product that we want or that you want. So one example is the barrel configuration. We, based on our feedback that we received from the barrel makers as well as a lot of gunsmiths and from some personal experience within the team, was that the 1 in 12 will shoot 55 grainers more accurately than the 1 in 8. Now, I know it's like a huge thing or a statement that, yeah, we got a lot of feedback on. So interestingly, Ed from Fuck Outdoors YouTube channel, great guy, he put a survey out to see what the market actually wants, and 85% want a 1 in 8. That's not what we expected, because that's not the information that we've received from expert. I'm not the expert. I don't know, right? I just go by what people tell me and judge sort of where they are on the expert list, and then I go with that. So we expected that 60-70% want a 1 in 12. If we would have ordered 70% 1 in 12 with a 3 months lead time, would have meant that for the first 3 to 4 months, we would have not have enough barrels for the demand at all. At all. We would have, yeah, the waiting times would have blown up massively, and we would have set on a whole bunch of 1 in 12s. So we've put the survey out to all the guys that pre-ordered. Thanks very much if you are one of those, and thanks very much for replying. It was invaluable. 95% want a 1 in 8. Now, I don't know which one is better for a 55 grain, but we're wanting to find out coming week, because the customer base says 1 in 8. Our experts say 1 in 12 or 1 in 9, anywhere in between. But to be honest, there's a lot of theory in there, and we want facts with our particular firearm and not what it should be, and then find out that that's not the case. And maybe 1 in 8 is better. Hey, whatever. I don't mind either way. But my point is that if it wasn't for your feedback, we would have stuffed it up. So it's one less thing, or one more thing we got right. Fingers crossed. We'll find out coming week. So your feedback is extremely valuable. The only thing I may ask is, it would help us a lot if it's constructive. As in, you can bitch and moan about it. That's cool. But if you can tell us what specifically and how you would do it, it often helps us. For example, so we're going to do different calibers, right? And the question was, hey, can I just have an upgrade kit? If I buy the 223, can I have an upgrade kit to make it 9 mil or 308? It's a great thought, right? And in certain circumstances, that'll be possible. Because, for example, the lower between the 223 and the 9 mil potentially could be designed in a way that it's compatible, or at least some parts, so we don't have to charge the full amount and we can potentially have an upgrade kit. Again, it's a big potentially, so we'll find out in the future. But my point is that these ideas and these constructive ideas really help us to just make a better product for everyone. So please keep them coming. If you pick up on things, keep it coming. And yeah, I'll love to answer every single comment, and I'll try my very best to do so. So yeah, thanks very much for hanging in there. This was a long video. I hope this was insightful, and I'm super excited. And I hope you guys are as well. And I'll see you around. So hopefully in a week or so, I got the accuracy video out. So until then, catch you later. Bye.